There is a space in my heart where I find the truth. I find me in you, a truth beyond what you may see now. But when we are one, we bring more good about. No matter who or what you call yourself or where you come from, yeah. There is a place in this world with open arms right now. Welcome to love, welcome to peace, welcome to our community. Be who you are, let your light shine. We're so much more when we unite. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. I see with new eyes, allow and unfold, embrace and let go, trust the flow. There's a freedom in love when you follow your heart. Together we are stronger than we could ever be apart. No matter who or what you call yourself or where you come from, yeah. There is a place in this world with open arms right now. Welcome to love, welcome to peace, welcome to our community. Be who you are, let your light shine. We're so much more when we unite. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. Breathe in and out, slowly feel all that's around you, all that you feel, all that you know. Let it go. Welcome to love, welcome to peace, welcome to our community. Be who you are, let your light shine. We're so much more when we unite, yeah, when we unite, oh, we unite, yeah, yeah, when we unite, yeah, yeah. You are welcome here. Love is welcome here. Peace is welcome here. You are welcome here.
Good afternoon, everyone. You are indeed welcome here. I am Reverend Cindy Grimes, and I'm the Spiritual Director of Center for Spiritual Living Ocala. And I'm so glad that you have chosen to spend a little time with us, whether you're doing it live or if you're watching a recording. We're so happy you're here. You are welcome here. Life is good, and we've got a great program in store for you today. But before we get started, on our specific topic for the day, I want to tell you a little bit about Center for Spiritual Living Ocala. And the way that we do that is by sharing the things that are important to us, the things that we value here at CSL Ocala. Number one on our list is spiritual growth and practice. We are Center for Spiritual Living. And that is why we come together, to learn together, to grow together spiritually, because our spiritual lives are the foundation of everything else. Everything else springs from spirit. So that's why that's at the top of our list. And it's practice. It's not like you get it and you never have to worry about it again, or life is going to be wonderful once you hit this a particular point in the spiritual path. It doesn't work that way. We're always in practice. The next thing on our list is love, because we believe that love is God, that love is the energy that moves the universe, whatever you want to call it. Some people call it God, some people call it energy, creator. You know, for us, it's love. And I should turn down my phone. So that is also on our list. Then we have appreciation. And that word appreciation means that something is growing in your awareness. So we live in gratitude and appreciation. And the more gratitude you have, the more things you have to be grateful for. So appreciation there is at the top of our list as well, as is community. It's very important that we have our people, you know, that we have people that we can go to, that create space for us when we're going through stuff, or that we can be there for them. We are designed we're connected. We're connected. And the way that we know that is through community. So that is also a very, very important thing for us, as is freedom. Freedom to express, freedom to live, and our gifts, and to be all that we came here to be on this earth. And we value that as well as creativity. We believe that that is the way that we are similar to our creator, that we are created in the image and likeness of the creator. Well, that means that we get to create too. And so creativity is very important, as is health and wholeness. We are talking this year, our program, on our online program, is about social emotional health and well-being. So I'm going to get into that a little bit more. But that really is the crux of what we're talking about this year, is emotional health and health in our relationships. We value generosity. It's just some wonderful people in this place that give. And it's like giving without strings attached. You know, it's giving because it's the thing to do, because it's what we're wired for. It's because it feels good to do it. And so we set the ball in motion by giving. And so generosity is also very important, as is financial well-being. And so those are the things that are important to us, all of that. And if that's important to you, then you have found the right place. And so our mission and our vision, let's get that going here. Awesome. Our vision is that we are a model center for spiritual living, as evidenced by the transformational impact we have, not just on our Center for Spiritual Living organization here in Ocala, but the larger, the city that we live in, and the state that we live in, and the larger Centers for Spiritual Living organization, which for those of you who may be watching or tuning in for the first time, there are Centers for Spiritual Living all over the world. And we are very blessed to have one right here in little old Ocala. So if you are not here local and can't join us in person on a Sunday, feel free to check out your community and see if there is a Center for Spiritual Living near you, because they are all over the country, all over the world. And our mission is to empower individuals to awaken to the power and presence that lies within and all around them, so they may live their best lives. And that's what it's all about. It's all about living our best lives, using our talents, our gifts, our abilities, and making the best life possible. So before we bring in our guests, and if you watch us regularly, you know who these ladies are. They are the practitioners of CSL Ocala, and that is Donna Davis and Norma Anderson. And so I'm going to bring them in here in just a minute, but I want to give you an overview, just kind of catch up on where we are, what's going on this month. So we are talking about, again, social emotional learning and health and well-being in our emotional lives and also in our relationships. And the course is called Self-Renewal, which stands for Social Emotional Life Focused Renewal. And so we're going to talk about really the basics of what it is to be in good relationship with not just with other people, but with ourselves too. But as that ripple effect goes out, there's the you drop the rock in the pond, and there's a ripple effect that happens. So peace begins here. So we're that center, we're that rock that drops in the middle of the pond, and then it ripples out to the next area of our relationships, which is probably your intimate relationships, your loved ones, your friends and family and coworkers and so on. And then we go out the next ripple, which is maybe your workplace and your neighbors, and or maybe it's the community that you live in or the state and so on. So it goes outward, but it always begins with us personally. I can't change anybody else. I have 3 kids and I can tell them what I want them to do, but it doesn't mean they're going to do any of it, right? The only one I have control over is me. So we're talking today about the bedrock of relationships and what is important, like super important for healthy relationships within ourselves and also as we do that ripple effect. Now, we've talked about already courage, because we talked about paradigm shifts. That was the first thing. Is peace possible? Is it possible to be the calm in the eye of the storm as things are swirling around you? What would peace look like? So we talked about that first. Then we talk about owning our own power, which is where everything starts, is making the decision to be in charge of your life and no longer be in the victim mode. Then we talked about courage, because we have to then step out, right? That's really the first step, is to go out in courage. So now, today, as I said, we're talking about the bedrock of healthy relationships, and that is all about trust. And so I'm going to bring in our practitioners. Hello, beautiful ladies.
Hello.
So nice to see. It's been so long, right?
I know.
Like all of about an hour. I don't know.
That's awesome. Today was.
We've already had a fun day, haven't we?
Oh man, that was very good. Very awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, we played today, so that was fun.
And we did. In our in-person gathering, we did spiritual practice of play. Like, who knew play could be a spiritual practice, right? Now we know.
Now we know.
Anything that initiates release.
Yeah.
Can be a spiritual practice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
For sure. Well, I'm going to take myself out of this feed here for a moment and let you all pray us in. How's that?
Okay. All right.
Terrific. Thank you.
Okay. So I just told Norma this because it just dropped into me as Cindy was talking about our values and our mission. And I said, you know what? Today we're talking about trust. And so we're going to do the spiritual mind treatment, but we're going to do it as a couple. And I just feel like Norma and I have an amazing relationship because we pray together and we hold each other while we do it. So we're going to do that today. And we're going to talk about trust in our spiritual mind treatment. And hopefully you have a partner in life. And if not, I hope the right balancer comes to you. All right, let us do it. She is going to hold high watch for me as I speak these words, knowing the truth. I recognize the allness that is the one, the divine up and down, masculine, feminine, in and out, the opposites, the seeming opposites, always in balance beautifully. I recognize that all of it is God expressed. And so as we walk into this space of knowingness, knowing that God is everywhere present, then I know that where I sit, God exists. And where Norma sits, God exists. And as we breathe in the same air, and I feel her hands in mine, the connection and the trust in my partner is there. Because I know that she is God expressed, that she has my back and I have hers. I see and feel and recognize who she is as goddess, expressed in human form. I am in awe of her every single day. And as we are sitting in our seats, we feel and know the divine essence of who we are as God expressed is in this very moment, sitting in this seat, speaking these words, touching these hands, smiling at that seeming stranger. I'm so grateful for this knowingness. I'm grateful for this ever divine knowledge that unfolds upon us. Like a beautiful lotus in the middle of the mud, we are tapping into these thoughts and ideas coming through Reverend Cindy today. I release all of this now into the law, knowing that it's already done. And together we breathe and say, and so it is.
Yeah.
Amen.
Ashe.
And so it is. Thank you. That was so lovely. Thank you for doing that together. Fabulous. Fabulous. Well, I did a little overview of what this was going to be about, and I paraphrased Stephen Covey, who wrote a book called The Speed of Trust. And I'm just going to start out by sharing the full quote of what he actually said, and then we'll take it from there. So he says, there is one thing that's common to every individual, relationship, team, family, organization, nation, economy, and civilization throughout the world. One thing which, if removed, will destroy the most powerful government, the most successful business, the most thriving economy, the most influential leadership, the greatest friendship, the strongest character, and the deepest love. On the other hand, if developed and leveraged, that one thing has the potential to create unparalleled success and prosperity in every dimension of life. Yet it is the least understood, the most neglected, and the most underestimated possibility of our time. That one thing is trust. Now I'm going to see if I can put this all in the chat, because that was a mouthful.
I'm telling you, when I read that little, I was like, wow.
It's big. It's big what you're saying, right?
Yes.
What's your thought about that? What is your comment? Do you agree with what he's saying?
I got goosebumps everywhere, because that is the one thing that'll break everything. Like every fight you ever think, it's that trust. The trust is taken, or you thought that you could trust, and then it turns out you couldn't trust that person. It's that kind of vulnerable, because in order to be completely vulnerable, you have to be able to trust.
Yeah.
And I think that's because it's showing the vulnerable side. People don't give it up so easily. So, and many people, they're like, I'm not going to work that hard just for him to feel comfortable in his stuff. He needs to, it just starts a whole gambit of, it's not me, it's you, and all of that. But trust is really, really strong component to any good relationship.
Yeah. Good. So I think the other thing we're going to talk about, I think there's 4 pieces for me that make up this, really the bedrock of healthy relationship, whether we're talking about relationship within ourselves or with other people, right? And that trust is one, respect, which we're going to talk about later this month. Then there's boundaries and accountability. So again, we're going to go through all of those other points as we go forward, but I just want to see, and this is really like, coming mostly from my head, but also from a lot of reading, that this is probably like the most important thing when it comes to relationship and having things work out, right? I mean, is there anything else? I mean, have I missed something?
It's the trust.
Yeah.
The trust. You know, when people say I'm in love or I love that person, they're kind of being fueled by the hormones of it all,
Mm-hmm.
the feelings and the flutters and all of that. And you falsely kind of give your trust, not knowing whether or not you can trust. You have to just go out on a limb and do faith. That's when faith takes over.
Yeah.
But I feel like once the hormones subside in the relationship after about a year or two, and you start to settle into like normal, I guess, that's when the trust starts to be very important. But you have to also know where the line is. And that's where the boundaries are important too. Because if you
Yeah.
don't know, you could really step and squash all over that boundary and have no clue that you're doing it.
Yeah.
And I think it's basically the core essential of any good relationship, because it's based on generally watching or experiencing actions by the other party, be it a personal relationship, a governmental contract, whatever.
Mhm.
It's based on things that you've experienced with this person. You don't just automatically trust somebody because you just met them yesterday in the supermarket. That doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I
You
know that doesn't happen for you.
It's a little bit easier than she does, but it's the integrity thing. But you know, I feel like we have to connect to that inside part of us that just knows and pay attention to that sixth sense. And some people are just really good at reading others. So that sixth sense is very strong. And some of us, it's kind of dampered by our joy. We see the joy, so we're like, yay. And then everything goes out the window.
Well, I'm glad you said that, Donna, because I wanted to bring it back to we started out kind of talking about trust in relationship with other people. But I think even before that, like what you're saying, is that trusting yourself,
Hmm.
I think is so important, because when you trust yourself, you kind of know whether somebody's trustworthy or not,
Yes,
right?
yes, that's true.
yes.
Right. So even more important than trusting other people is trusting yourself to know that you're going to have what you need when you need it, that you're going to know what to say when you got to say it. Like, it's like that faith.
Mhm.
I guess another way of faith, of saying faith, is trust. I trust the sun is going to come up tomorrow. Like, I don't even question that, right?
Yes,
Hmm.
Is that
exactly.
like, faith at the
Mhm.
same time. So have you have you always felt like you trusted yourself, or was that something you had to work into?
I had to work on it
Yeah.
because of my anxiety. I had to work on it
Hmm.
because my anxiety was very loud. And I started realizing and recognizing that she was lying to me because she would tell me, "You're not safe. You're not safe," and I'd be sitting in my chair at home, but
Yeah.
my body would go through this whole thing. So after a while, it was like, okay, can I trust that I will be safe? Am I really not safe? That kind of thing. So I kind of battled back and forth until I started learning how to recognize the anxiety versus this is actually a outside thing that I need to assimilate and figure out. It's not
Hmm.
you.
Hmm. How
Yeah.
about you, Norma?
Well, for me, I I think because I'm very much an observer, um, I've always kind of trusted my gut, trusted what I thought when I, come into situations or meet with people or what have you. Because generally before usually there's any very much interaction for me with them, I've already watched them and kind of
Hmm.
a general idea as to their character, integrity, because that's strong with me. Um, so, and I think because I had to fend for myself so young, at such a young age, my mom passed when I was 12. And so I tended to need to develop that skill to survive.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
could see that. I think for myself, I spent a lot of years, much of my life, maybe probably more than half of it, really not trusting myself, because I was always looking for somebody else's approval. like you tell me if this is right. I'm going to go to the experts and get, like I'd get 50 different opinions on something before coming to my own decision. And now, now it's like the opposite. Now I tap in first and I get that sense from inside first. And, sometimes I'll check it out with other people, but I don't feel the need to do that anymore. But I have definitely evolved in that because I spent a long time continually doubting myself, questioning myself, all of that not good enough. And like, what do you know? And all those gremlins, the voices in my head were like super loud for a long time, that I didn't trust my radar. And I think it comes from trauma, like early trauma,
Right.
like what happens when people who are in a caregiving position or authority figures or whatever, the people that you're supposed to trust are not trustworthy,
Right.
or they hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
And how that will affect a person's ability to be in relationship with others, but also I think to trust themselves.
Right. And so that's a big part of it. So my anxiety came from trauma. That's what started the whole thing. Because I used to have no issue just running into anything, trusting wholeheartedly. And I remember the first day it was presented to me by my grandfather, who was my hero. And I felt like I was walking the Green Mile, and it felt like something was heavy on my heart. And I almost had like chest pain. And I was like, what is this feeling? Like something is changing, something big is going to happen, this sense of like dread. And I knew I hadn't done anything wrong when they said he needed to speak to me. I thought, well, I didn't do anything wrong. So what is going on? And the sense of dread just got worse and worse and worse. And then it just turned. It's like my life turned. And I was no longer innocent. I now had to deal with this monster of the anxiety and the constant fretting and worrying and flitting and wait, somebody's going to get me and that sort of thing. And that was when my trust. And I remember the moment very distinctly because I was walking. I just got home from school. And I remember it was a sunny day. Yeah, isn't that crazy?
It's not, though. I think for anybody who has experienced trauma, that's probably everybody, that you remember where you were,
Mm-hmm.
right? What the weather was, what you were wearing, like everything that happened, right? When certain things like that happen in your life, it gets almost
Imprinted.
cemented in.
Imprinted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me put up a definition here. Just so we're on the same page of what does this word trust really mean, right? To believe in the reliability, the truth, the ability or strength of someone or something. And there it is, to have faith, confidence, or hope. So the synonyms are certainty, belief, faith, commitment, commission, credit, and entrust. So it can be the hardest thing really is when you can't trust yourself. Then how can you ever trust anybody? So I think to me, that's always the starting place of how do we, the ripple effect, right? How do we increase trust in ourselves?
I'm working on it.
Yeah.
It's been a journey.
Mm-hmm.
And I know for me, I'm learning how to allow for my anxiety to tell me what it is. And when it shows up, my spiritual practices, is what I lean on. And the more I get to know who I am as spirit expressed, that it's not the human story that I am, the more I tap into that, the easier it is for me to hear that part of spirit, for me to be able to navigate the world without wanting to run and hide all the time. And I know a lot of people who had that kind of trauma happen, they are living and trying to navigate in the world and feel crippled and like there's no hope. But to be able to stand and say that you can trust yourself, you can trust that inner thing, but the spiritual practices is where it's at. This is the only thing I've ever found that's helped me. And I've tried medication and therapy and the shock thing, and it sucked. This is what works.
And definitely, even when you don't really have self-trust issues, the spiritual practices help in every situation. Anything you come up against and you're not sure what you should do or how you should handle it, you fall back, bring it back to principle, and it never steers you wrong.
Yeah. Well, and you also are two people like myself who've been kind of on this path for a little while. So mindfulness, meditation, treatment, these are things we've been doing for years that let you fall back on it.
Practice. Because I'm not going to lie, when it hits you, and sometimes it comes out of left field, you'll be having a great day and somebody will say something or something will happen. And you get that trigger, man, it's nice to be able to kick back into into something that you can do that's with you in that moment.
Yeah, some kind of practice that will center you.
Yeah, that's why I like to refer to us not solely as practitioners, but as practicers.
Yeah. Yes.
Daily.
Moment to moment.
Yes. Well, I want to put some myths up here about trust. And this refers, I think, either when we're talking about trusting ourselves or trusting other people. There's myths, and then there's the counter answer to it. So this also comes from Stephen Covey, who wrote that book, The Speed of Trust. Let me pull this up, and maybe we'll talk about these as we go through. So the myth is that trust is soft, that trust is slow. Trust is built solely on integrity. You either have it or you don't. Once it's lost, it can't be restored. It says you can't teach it. This is a favorite. Trusting people is too risky. Or you establish trust one person at a time. And all of these things you can see are not true. I like to see your faces when we're doing this. So let's go with the first one. Trust is soft. Is the myth. Covey says the reality is that trust is hard. It's real, it's quantifiable, and it measurably affects both speed and cost. Now, what do you say about that?
Trust is hard because you have to push against the fear of what ifs. And that's why it's so hard.
Yeah, so this idea of trust being something of it's like kind of airy fairy, or all you peace loving people, hippy dippy, whatever. that there's I don't know. I don't even like those terms like soft skills versus, harder edge skills. It's like, what is that? It's kind of like talking it down.
But I have had people kind of give us that hippie vibe, like you guys don't have real troubles, or you don't understand. And it's like, okay. I think it's harder to face it with trust and faith than it is to just fight against it.
Yes.
I think it's harder to give in and just allow. Because your fight or flight is saying fight. And it's not that you're freezing. You're actually allowing for yourself to be moved with the current. That is harder to do because you're fighting against your natural ability to kick into fight or flight. You're wrangling in your own beast. And that's why.
And that's why we talk about courage, right?
That's
because it takes courage.
And the people who are in that space of yesness, naturally, I love you so much, babe. She's just in that space of this is who I am. I'm completely connected to me and I'm all right with me. And to really trust herself like that, I was like, wow, So, but it's hard work.
And because trust is so dependent on vulnerability and openness, most people they're not ready in a lot of situations to do that. So it's much easier to just shut down. Don't let anybody in and just stay to yourself.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that's
And
a lonely place to be.
I heard someone say once, and I don't even know where the saying came from, but it says, "Love people and trust God."
Yes. Right.
Yeah, which
Yes.
that makes sense to me.
Yes.
Now, since God's everywhere, the part of them that is God is what I'm trusting,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll love them through their humanity.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
when they disappoint me, and they will, because they don't know all of that I am expecting, of course, until I
Right. Right.
and this is what happens. Like, I think it was Reverend Roddy that also said that another reverend had told him that people disappoint you because you become too heavy for them to carry.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
I thought, what? Mic drop moment, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was deep.
that was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
So now, I mean, I just allow for the humanity to come forward, and when it does, we're all human. We fall short.
Yeah.
There's only so much we can get done in this physical form.
Right. All right, let's see the next myth. We're going to bust another myth here. Trust is slow. Covey says nothing is as fast as the speed of trust.
Okay. I don't
So I
know.
have one for that. Do you have one for that?
No.
I'm just thinking, okay, think about Congress.
Uh-huh.
These people, like, nobody trusts anybody else. And what we have is gridlock. Nothing moves, nothing happens. When you don't trust somebody, it makes things 10 times harder.
Mm-hmm.
Versus when I know that somebody I'm dealing with has my back, and we're okay, then we can move, we can groove, we can do whatever. I trust you all, right? So that if it's 5 minutes till showtime and you're still not here, I know you're going to show up, right? if I don't know you, I might be starting having palpitations, right? It makes things harder when you don't trust.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's my example.
Yeah. If you really do trust someone, then it's a shadow of a doubt.
Right?
You're always.
It's
That's
easy.
where that ride or die comes in. Like, you say to somebody, "Yo, let's go to New York and have fun. Let's go see what this pandemic thing is." And they say,
Yes.
"Okay, sure, let's go."
Right.
Trust.
Because there's a trust, because you trust yourself enough to know that your inner GPS is going to guide you the right way.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's see another one. All right. Trust. This one's a good one. Trust is built solely on integrity. Now, what Covey is saying, that is a myth. Trust is not just built on integrity. It is built on character, meaning integrity, and competence.
That's true.
Right. So not only do you say you can do the thing, but you actually can do it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you show up and you do it, right?
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Versus
that's
saying,
the
yeah,
thing.
I'm gonna show up for you, but I'm gonna do a lousy job. Then there's no trust there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So it's competence is the ability to follow through and to do what you say that you're going to do and then actually doing it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the integrity piece.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Because as much as you love the person and their heart is there to want to do a good job,
Best of
but if they don't
intentions.
have best of intention, if they don't have the skill set for it, then the
Right.
best of intentions can sometimes waste your time, energy, and resources. And then you have
Yes.
to hire somebody else to come in and do it, redo or, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can
Right.
see that.
Yeah. So trust isn't just about your character, it's about your ability as well
Yeah.
to do whatever it is whatever realm we're talking about.
Mm-hmm. So then it's a matter of knowing where your ability lies. What skills you do have. And if you want to do that particular skill, then get versed in it, get skilled and get,
Yeah.
but you have to take responsibility for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see another one here. You either have trust or you don't. That's the myth. You're either trustworthy or you're not. You either have it or you don't. The fact is that trust can be created and it can be destroyed. So if someone screws up,
Mhm.
someone makes a mistake, right? Like they've blown your trust. Can they win it back?
I think
Have
so.
have you been able to win somebody's trust when it has been broken before?
I think so. I think it depends on what happened. I think each individual scenario will be different, but sometimes it's due to a misunderstanding. That trust that trust is still in place. It's not
Mhm.
broken. You
Yeah.
just have to figure out if it's a misunderstanding.
hmm Well, my kids are grown now, but I'm trying to think an example where, somebody may have done something wrong. You lied to me. Well, now I don't trust you, right? So now we have these rules in place and we give it a time frame and say, okay, for the next however months, right? You need to show up and start rebuilding that trust again.
Mhm.
So I know that I can rely on you,
Mhm.
right? And then that goes into our next conversations about boundaries and accountability,
Right.
right?
Right.
But I do think it is possible to regain trust when it's been broken. I've experienced that.
Yeah.
You
It
change your mind, Norma?
can, well, it can happen. It just takes even more work once the trust has been broken. Because building the trust to begin with is an experience. It's work.
Mhm.
But once that trust is broken, it's an uphill climb. But it
Mhm.
can
Mhm.
happen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you definitely make your life harder.
Yeah. And Lady
With
Gaga said it too. I think there was one song that she had at the beginning of the song. She talked about, if even though you broke the glass, if the glass is broken, even if you piece it back together, you can still see the cracks.
yes, yes. All right, the next one. You can't teach trust. Well, I think we just talked about that one.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
can. You can. The reality is that trust can be effectively taught and learned and can become a strategic advantage that can be leveraged.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Like when this.
The next one, trusting people is too risky, was the myth. The truth is, I'll put it back up again, that not trusting people is the greater risk. What do you think about that one?
Trusting people is.
I'll put it back up.
Put it back up again.
Yeah.
See if I can.
Not trusting.
Trusting people is too risky, is the myth. That trust is risky. He's saying that not trusting is the bigger risk.
Well, I think that it's a bigger risk to not trust because then you don't know what you're dealing with. And if you don't put yourself out there a little bit and be a little vulnerable with somebody, you're not going to learn about them. And then anything could happen.
Sure.
But to just putting a little bit of vulnerability and allowing yourself to be open to learning about somebody, then that puts you in a better idea of what that person's going through and what they're
Mhm.
dealing with, so that when stuff starts to come up, we avoid more misunderstandings.
Mhm.
Because I think misunderstandings create wars.
Yeah. Right.
I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
kind of going round and round with that one.
hmm
'Cause I can see the pros and cons on each side.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. I'm gonna decline to comment on that one.
Yeah. Sit on that one for a little bit. Think about it.
Yeah.
What I think they're saying there, what he's saying is that when we don't trust other people to do things, I mean, that's that feeling of like I'm so overwhelmed because I have to do everything because I don't trust. Like it's like being a control freak.
Mm-hmm.
Feeling like you got to do everything yourself because I can't trust anybody else to do
Right.
things as well as I do.
Mm-hmm.
And the effect being this feeling of overwhelm and crash and burn, because we can't do
Oh,
everything,
yeah.
right?
Because we operate in a tribunal sense. We have families. Nobody's by themselves, so you have to trust somebody. Just even coming in, you have to trust your mama or daddy or somebody that's going to feed you or take care of you. Because if not, you're going to die.
Right.
So, I mean, at the very basic core of it, we have to trust someone.
I think that's what he's saying. I think that's the point, is that just to live and to be able to move freely. And, you know,
Mhm.
you have to trust people. You have to,
Yeah.
you know, but again, if you trust yourself enough, you know the people who are trustworthy and who's not.
You know, who
Correct.
Yeah.
But sometimes you have to trust complete strangers.
Sometimes you do.
I mean,
Sometimes.
just walking through a crowd in New York City, for example, you know pickpockets are out there, but you have to walk next to a whole lot of people. So you just
Mhm.
don't know. So you're trusting every single person that passes you is not going to grab your stuff.
Mhm.
Or you don't trust. So you sit in that state of fight or flight the whole time, which is what
Mhm.
a lot of people do. But
Yeah.
some people, it doesn't even come in their mind. They're just trying to get to their destination.
Right. You know what? I missed some of these conversations. People that are chatting in here. Let me see what this is. Susan. I disagree that not trusting is the greater risk. You can get to know people without trusting them. Interesting. You can get to know people without trusting them.
Yeah.
You can. Um, yeah. I still, you know, trusting ourselves. If you trust nobody else, trust yourself.
hmm
Right. And there's a huge risk with not trusting yourself.
hmm
You live in victimhood when you don't trust yourself.
Right. For sure. Did you have something else, Norma?
Well, it was going to be kind of along what Susan said, because when we were originally talking about trust and being the core basis of any relationship, I was thinking about love, and I was like, yeah, you can love somebody and not trust them. So, you know, trust is a difficult one. It
Mm-hmm.
very, very much is.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, you know,
And, you know, you have to have the definitions too, right? Like, what does it mean to love somebody?
Mhm.
Um, you know, and for me, like, I believe it is possible to love somebody and not like them. Like,
yes.
I can love, you know, there's people in my family. I love them. I want the best for them. I want them to live you know, have wonderful lives. It doesn't mean I like them or I want to hang out with them,
I know that. I
right?
know the
You
feeling.
know?
Yeah.
I mean, we all have those, not just family. It could be
Mhm.
anybody.
Mhm. Mhm.
All
Mhm.
right, we got one more before we wrap up.
Okay.
You establish what trust one person at a time. That's the myth. The reality is that establishing trust with one establishes trust with the many.
Well, I believe that you, because I travel. When we travel, you're establishing trust with the many because you don't know any of them people when you stop in a
Yeah,
town.
yeah,
So when you walk in to have dinner, you trust that that waitress is going to bring you your food. You're gonna, you know.
Or just driving on the highway, which I do all the time. You know,
Hmm.
you're trusting that everybody's going to stay where they're supposed to be and not come in and encroach on you. And, you know,
Mhm.
it's just general trust.
Yeah,
But still, you know, there's a level of trust. That's why a lot of people are afraid to drive, because they don't trust.
right. Well, you know, I'll bring this example to the center. Something happens, and me as the senior minister, people are looking at me to handle it. So if I'm handling a situation with one person, all these other folks are seeing how I did that. And then trust is therefore built and broken with the one person, but it affects many.
Hmm. Hmm.
Got yeah.
Right. So doing the right thing can establish trust with a lot of people, even if I don't have a one-on-one interaction with them. Right. I think so. That to me is what that point means.
Yeah.
You establish the trust, you know, maybe it's a one-on-one situation. You establish that trust within you, and it has that ripple effect. People around you are going to see how it was handled, how it was done, and they know who you are
Yeah.
based on how you, like, you know, it's the microcosm of the macro.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Right. So let me see. I think we covered all of them. Let's see if there's any more comments here. I see an amen, sister. I don't know what that was amen to, but thanks, Angel. Let's see if there's anything else here. Yeah, I missed a couple comments. I'm so sorry about that. Corinne said forgiveness combined with discernment has allowed to trust again.
Yeah.
You know, and that's true whether we're talking about ourselves or we're talking about other people.
Discernment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That forgiveness piece, though, that's the part.
that's the part right there, right?
That's the part right there. That's like,
Mm-hmm.
but then, like like in my case with the whole anxiety piece that shows up from time to time. My grandmother used to say that you don't use one man's fat to fry another person.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Which I thought, okay. But she said, don't use your ex's fat to fry the current partner. Just
Yeah.
because the ex did something, or this used to happen to me, or this happened to me in the past, or this painful thing happened. Yes, it happened, but it doesn't mean that this person here is going to do it again.
Right.
And so that's the hardest thing, is to get your that part when it kicks in, when the run away kicks in.
So, when do you determine enough is enough, though? Like if you are trusting in a situation or person or what have you, and the trust is broken, and your spiritual practices help you get back to that point of trust again, and then the cycle is repeated. At what point do you say, okay, I'm done with that. I'm done with you.
I think that's going to be one of our future conversations when we talk about boundaries.
There we go.
Right? So it depends on the situation, the person, right? What's at stake, like all of those things. Because I can be in a relationship with somebody I don't trust. Right? I just know I don't say certain things to this person, or I'm not going to give this job to this one, or whatever. We can still hang out, but I'm not going to trust you to do XYZ until you have shown that you can, if that trust has been breached, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, I think this is a pretty good conversation right here. This is important stuff, huh?
Oh yeah.
Do you have anything in closing before we wrap this up?
Just keep doing it.
How about your takeaways? What's your takeaway from today?
Today was a heavy day for me. It turned out to be pretty heavy because we stepped into inner child stuff with the play this morning at the center, and then having this conversation about trust and dropping myself back into that moment in my mind. That was heavy stuff. So I'm just like, the takeaway for me is, you're doing okay. You're all right. It's okay. And when the anxiety shows up, it's okay. We're doing okay. We're working on it.
And for me, it's just like anything else that we've discussed. Everything begins with me. It's an inside job. I have to get to know me, get to know what I like, what I will allow myself to do and believe and be. And once I develop that trust, that relationship with myself, then it can extend to others. And, it all begins with me.
Yeah. Nice. I'd say that was reinforced for me too. We teach what we need to learn, or what we want to learn. And so that I'm grateful as I think about how far I have come in this realm, through these teachings and through connections with people like you, and people who are just good-hearted, trustworthy, people of integrity. There's that whole mirror thing that happens, so the trust with the one establishes trust with the many, vice versa. When you break trust with one, that can break trust with a lot of people too.
Yeah.
Right. The speed of trust, man, that's gone. I just saw what you did to that person, or whatever, and now my experience is going to be different with that individual based on that, possibly. Right. So
Usually,
right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we can build trust very, quickly, as he was saying, through that multiplication, the experience with the one that transcends the many. And the opposite is true too. You can blow trust with a lot of people in an instant with just one thing.
Yeah.
So I guess on that note, then I'm going to just call everybody to be at their best as we move forward of being in integrity. And I think next week we'll talk more about how we reestablish trust when it's been breached, whether it's for ourselves or with other people. Yeah. So y'all be with us next week?
Well,
We'll see.
we'll see.
I'm trying to put us on the spot.
She's trying to put us on the spot. She's trying to pin us down.
All right, you ladies. I
You
love
know,
you.
if you call us, we'll be,
Yes.
we'll pull over on the side of the road. And
I know you will. I know you will. Actually, you know what? I think I have. I think there's another guest next week, but we'll just leave that to be announced.
To be
So
announced.
everybody, stay tuned, and we'll see who shows up next week as we continue this conversation on trust and the bedrock of being in good, healthy relationships. So, thank you, my friends, for being such a wonderful example
You're
of
so
trust
welcome.
and integrity and love and all that good stuff. Love you.
Love you too.
All righty. Love that conversation. And I'm sorry I missed a couple of comments in here. Let's see. I'm going to pop up this other one right here quick. Corinne said, discernment comes in. Sometimes it's best to send people love, but then walk away. Yes, yes, yes. All right, great conversation on trust. And now we will go into the next part of our discussion here as we do our offering of sharing our gifts and tithes. And so I just want to invite you, if the work that we are doing here at Center for Spiritual Living Ocala, either in our broadcasts or in our live gatherings, touches you in some way, helps you live your best life, then I'm going to ask you to help support our mission and to give and know that your give also has that ripple effect. It is the gift that will keep on giving because it allows us to keep bringing this work to more and more people. And so I'm going to invite you to share your gift and to know that it's just seed, because everything that you give comes back to you, pressed down and multiplied like a seed. You plant one seed in the ground, one acorn that becomes an oak tree, and God knows how many, an infinite number of oak trees can come from that one acorn. So it's the same thing with whatever it is that you give, whether you're giving of your time, whether you're giving of your talent, whether you're giving of your money, that it is like seed that once planted in fertile ground is going to just keep on growing and multiplying and blessing not just you, but the lives that you touch. So thank you to everybody who already gives to CSL Ocala. There's a few ways that you can do it. You can go to our website at cslocala.org/donate. Or if you have a smartphone, you can text us at 352-320-5110. Once it's set up, you put the amount of money that you would like to give the center, you hit send, and it goes right from your account to ours. And it's super easy. And we love it. So this is our affirmation. Make it your own. And just as I said, keep that seed idea in mind. And it is the nature of life to give of itself, as it is the tree's nature to bear fruit and the flower's nature to bloom. It is my nature to share the gifts of my time, talent, and treasure. I participate in the divine flow of life, giving generously and receiving abundantly. I am blessed and I am a blessing. And I am so very, very grateful. And so do make that your own prayer and know that everything that you put out into the world comes back to you, pressed down and multiplied. And for some of you, that's a great thing. For some of you, not so good. But, you know, now is the beginning of the rest of your life. So you can always make a change whenever you need to. What else do I want to tell you? As far as what's going on here at the center, I will be speaking next Sunday. That is the 13th. And we are talking about in our in-person gatherings, everyday wonder. And every month is a different aspect of wonder. So of our lives, like the environments of our lives. So this month we're talking about everyday wonder at play. And we had a great time this morning, a workshop with Susan Cohen, who talked about play as spiritual practice. Not talked about, actually led people in some activities. So there was dancing, and there were bubbles, and there was coloring, and there was lots of great fun. So that happened already today, but next week I will be speaking on the idea of everyday wonder at play in a more traditional kind of service. And then the following week, the 20th, we will be having circle conversations. And that's where folks come in. We start out with a big group, kind of summarize the topic, and then we'll split up into smaller groups where people can discuss the topic and be more immersed in it. So it's not just us talking about it. You get to have that exchange with other people on these different ideas and topics. And it really, my hope anyway, and the hope of our board and our leadership, is that it's going to embed these ideas even deeper within you, so that you're an even better practitioner of these principles, and that your life is working even better. So let's see, I think we have one more. Is there another comment here? Thank yous and see you next weekend kind of stuff. And then we have here, I think that's it. So we're going to do our closing prayer. And, instead of praying us out, like I could say lots of beautiful words, and but I kind of like doing this because it gives you, for folks who are not familiar with the way that we pray, or it's easier for you to have something that you can just memorize and remember. This is a great simple prayer, and it pretty much says it all as far as I'm concerned. And it comes from James Dillett Freeman, the prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, wherever you are, God is, and all is well. I just affirm that your life is good and getting better with each day. If you have any challenges before you this week, may they become stepping stones to your greater yet to be. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. Hope that you can join us next week. And if you happen to be in the Ocala area, please stop by next week at 11 a.m. and come hang out with us. We'd love to have you. In the meantime, you have a fabulous day, a fabulous week, and we will see you next week. Love and blessings.